Uh, we got interviews, different perspectives, interview. Listen and learn what winners do. Empirical wisdom.
Your pops, anyone in your family used to wrestle, or?
Nah, my dad never wrestled, man. I got cut from the 8th grade basketball team. That's how I got into wrestling.
What?
I had handles too, boy. I was like Jordan up in the block. They call me Eric Buckets. Nah, I got cut in 8th grade, man. I remember you kind of embarrassed. I thought I was so sure I made the team. I didn't even look at the cut roster. Then somebody was like, "Yo, your name ain't on the board." I was like, "What?" And I was like, "I got cut." And then what are you gonna do that in Ohio up north? Wrestling's in the winter, the same as basketball season. I think it's down here too. Like, so what are you gonna do? We ain't gonna sit around. So we just started getting into wrestling.
Wait, dude, for as long as I know you, that's some crazy stuff. So you got cut, like and you went on to join the wrestling team.
Yeah,
but was there like any inclination to like even wrestle, or it was like maybe a friend that was like, "Hey, let's go wrestle"?
Yeah, a friend. I think it was either Quentin Guidance or my buddy Josh Atkinson, one of them two. And everybody in the Midwest everybody's wrestled at least 1 year in the Midwest. Like everybody, if you go up north, they'd be like, "Oh, I wrestled 1 year," you know.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like if you weren't wrestling and you were a dude, you were a boy. That's just kind of what you did. Like,
yeah.
Your parents were like, "Go do something."
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody gonna be stuck in the house all winter because there ain't nothing to do. It's snowing. You ain't going nowhere.
So when you started wrestling, were you like a freshman or a sophomore?
8th grade. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And wrestled for a little school, Weisenborn. How did I do that year? Like I remember just like a little bit better than 500, man. A little bit better than 500. Then my freshman year, I started placing second at a lot of tournaments. I remember I didn't win a tournament. I think my junior year, I took second at like all of them now. So for some reason, just in the finals, I wasn't turning the switch.
Huh. When you started wrestling, I'm obviously it's kind of like a little process when you're not really it's not your personal goal, right?
Yeah.
So do you you had any expectations, like you had any ambition once you start getting into it? Like do you tell yourself like, "Oh, you know what? I like what I'm doing. Like, I want to go to college and wrestle, or I want to be a state champ, or I want to go to districts, regionals." Like, do you start setting like goals for yourself, or
8th grade? There, you're separate from the high school, so I don't know if those goals set in just then. But you didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
We had wrestling cheerleaders, so I was trying to stunt for the cheerleaders a little bit. And so, no, but really, like, you didn't want to lose, so I hated losing at anything. So you just start to get better because you don't want to lose. You don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
So that probably drove me all the way to in 9th grade. Now you're starting to wrestle with the varsity team, and you see the people going to state. Now they start setting the expectations of, all right, this is what we're shooting for. So then at that point, you start to want to become a state champ. So it probably took like my sophomore year. My best friend named Jermaine Daniels, I remember he went 25-2. We're the same age. And D1 in Ohio 189, so he was really good. And then I remember I went 17-15 and made it to state. I upset like the number 7th ranked dude in the state to get to state. So then you're like, all right, now I can do this.
Damn. That's pretty cool, man. So you're going through high school. When do you start like setting those expectations to like maybe go and wrestle in college?
Yeah, that probably started, man. We had this thing called Raider Wrestling Club.
Okay.
So at first you're good, and then you put in that work outside of your school, and now you're going to start seeing you separate yourself from the rest of the people that only wrestle during wrestling season. So you go wrestle in the summer at Raiders Wrestling Club. Then from my sophomore to the junior year, you make these leaps and bounds. Again, my best friend Jermaine ended up winning a state title his junior year. I lost like the match before state.
Yeah.
So now we're all just competing against each other, making each other rise. And Jermaine was like the number 1 wrestling recruit coming out his senior year. And he played football in college. He was that good. And he only wrestled during wrestling season. He was that talented. 189-pounder, D1, best division, just killing people. So working out with him every day, him putting those thoughts in my head. Now we're playing ball. Now we're talking about, hey, let's win a state title. Yeah. And then you just get your focus on that. Then from there, the mission takes on itself because it's like what you said. Now you got that want to. I want to do this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So any mentoring throughout high school, like any coach or maybe another person outside of wrestling that maybe like, came around and saw that you have potential and was like, hey man, put your time, invest your energy into your wrestling?
I do. I had some good coaches, man. My coaches weren't old school. We didn't get yelled at a lot. Mark Silvers was one of the greatest coaches. My buddy, Coach Ott, whose son Kyle Ott ended up in the NCAA finals. And then, believe it or not, Jermaine, my best friend, he's passed away though. And then Kevin saw me. There was an Ohio Junior National team, and now I was a sophomore going into my junior year, and they practiced at our high school. The camp was at our high school before they went to junior nationals. That's the first time I met Kevin Randleman. And I remember just seeing this dude and seeing his body, and he looked like I was like, yo, man, that's Kevin Randleman. A guy named Tony Jolly was in his weight class my sophomore year, and he was like, well, watch this guy. And I remember watching him, like, man, he can wrestle. He took third that year. Then the next year he's at the camp, and he's just like, hey, man, come here. And then from there, my sophomore year, I remember they wrestled at a tournament at Wright State. And I was sitting by the mat, and Kev came up and gave me some dap. And then I just wanted to be like him because he was so exciting. So I was like, I want to be like that guy.
He was like your that reference point that we all need at some point in our lives as we coming up.
Yeah.
So then, how do you get to wrestle D1? I mean, because you went to Ohio State, which is like one of the premier like wrestling schools out there.
Yeah. So this is a funny story too. Jermaine was so good. Jermaine got recruited by Dan Gable, everybody. So Jermaine had signed a letter of intent to play football at Ball State, and he took a visit to Ohio State, which at that time you're not allowed to do. If you sign a letter of intent, you're not supposed to still be going to colleges. Well, they found out that he signed a letter of intent, and they're like, "Oh man, we got to send you home. We can't do this. This is illegal." And he was like, "Make sure you check out my boy Eric Smith." So they called me up. I had to take third, man. I wasn't even getting recruited. I got upset my senior year, so I took third in the state. And I always wanted to go to Ohio State because Kevin was there. So as soon as they called me, my mom didn't even want me to go. I was like, Mom, I'm going to Ohio State. Everybody was like, man, what are you going to do there? You're not going to be good. You only took third. Like you said, it's a premier school. They got all these state champs coming in. But once you level up the competition, no matter where you are, and with the right mentorship with Kevin, by my true freshman year, I remember I go there. All the freshmen are at the same level. We're all competing. We're all getting destroyed. Jim Jordan's our coach. Jim Jordan's just demolishing us. Made me cry so many times. Yeah. It was ridiculous. And Christmas break, I remember I go back to Dayton, Ohio, and then our 50-pounder, somebody got hurt, and it was like, hey, we want you to come back up. Now, I come back up practice. Say it's 3 weeks. I'm practicing with the team now. When the other freshmen come back, we were like this. I was way up here. It was just leaps and bounds. And that's when I realized, man, a lot of life is about repetition. The more reps I get than you, the better I'm going to be. So it's about reps. If I can keep getting the reps in, I'll start to distance myself from the people that are just doing the minimum to get by.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, me as a coach, like I've always like, that's what I try to convey to the fighters, because I'm like always like, the more you rep, the more you do it, what you're creating is this, like, you're able to send a signal a lot faster to your muscles. They react a lot faster. Because everyone says like, oh, muscle memory, right? But the muscle only has this one brain, So if you create, it's kind of like you have this signal, right, or this little packet, and you create this sheath around it. And when you first start, it's really thin, right? So it's not really protected. So when it travels really slow. But the more you rep, the sheath gets a little thicker and thicker and thicker. And the thicker it gets, the faster it travels. Yeah. That's why they always say like the third kid in every family, and this is according to like books that I've read, they would say like usually the third kid in every family is the one that makes it to the Olympics, because they got to pursue all their siblings. Yeah. So they're always running. Yeah. Because they got to catch up. Right? Yeah. So like you said, like reps is like key to everything in life, whatever it is, even if you writing books or even reading books, it's a habit that you're going to create. The more you do it, the faster you get to read. So now here you are in Ohio State, you're a freshman, like you say, you're being destroyed and things like that. What do you think is that what separates, like you said, there's like, because you put in the extra work outside of the season. Yeah. Obviously, you pick up more reps, constant reps, continuous work, right? Your body, your mind is maturing. You get a little stronger every time, and but so that obviously is going to separate the people that do the extra work from the people that just do enough work.
Yep.
Right. And then how do you become an All-American from there? Like what is that mindset? Because it's a different mindset. Like just being here, competing with other people, and then you do the extra reps. Now you're here, but then to become an All-American and be one of the top dogs, obviously, is a totally different mindset. Something else got to flip.
Yep. So the first time for most people is when you beat somebody way better than you.
Yeah.
And I remember wrestled an Iowa guy, and I remember he beat me, Rich Catalano, but I was taking it to him, and I remember afterwards Dan Gable was going, "Nice job, Smith." He's like, "Yeah, Dan Gable knows my name. All right, I'm all right." Then my freshman year, I beat the number 2 ranked dude in the nation, who was at national duels, and you're like, "I just beat the number 2 ranked dude in the nation. Like, I got this." But it's a mental battle. Number one thing that makes you differentiate is surrounding yourself with people that have a lot higher expectation of yourself than even you do at that time. So my 2 mentors were Mark and Kevin. Mark made sure we never missed a lift. Like all I wanted to do kind of just hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
Winning was going to be the byproduct. So there'd be times we'd be at a tournament. I tell this story that if we didn't win it, they wouldn't let the freshmen. We were freshmen. We walk over to the house, knock on the door. They wouldn't let us come in. So I took second at a tournament as a true freshman. I knock on the door. Mark was like, "Did you win?" I was like, "Man, let me tell you." True. Shuts the door. And didn't open the door back up. And I got to walk back home in the snow. I'm like, "Oh, man, this is what it is? Like, this is where I got to be? All right. I'll see y'all at lifting," right? So, and this isn't fighting and wrestling, man. You have to lift. Like, you have to be the strongest person. Because as you cut weight, especially in wrestling, and the season progresses, everybody starts off, say if they start off at a 10. A lot of people stop lifting as they're cutting weight and the season progresses. So their muscles go way down. Say they're at a, probably a 4, 3 maybe. And if you're lifting, it's going to go down 2, but yours might only go down to a 7, 6.
Mm-hmm.
And the stronger wrestler, whenever 2 combined kind of equal skill level, usually is going to come out ahead. So Mark made sure we didn't miss a lift. Kevin never missed a lift. And then it was Kevin's like enthusiasm. Like Kevin was such a monster to watch, and he did all these explosive throws. So you're in there just trying stuff that he tries because you want to be as good as him, and you see the crowd how they like him. So you're like, I like that feeling. So how am I going to get better? I got to start wrestling those guys. So in practice, you just find out the toughest people. And luckily, I had 4 All-Americans that were either my high weight, 5 All-Americans that were my weight or higher. So every day in practice, I was getting destroyed. My freshman year, like getting destroyed. It took like one guy, took me half a year to score on him. And I remember the day I scored on him, he beat the hell out of me, but I didn't care. I was like, "You can't take that takedown away." He's doing whatever. I'm just smiling like, "You can't take that away, man." But then that next year you come back. All right, now you score on them early, and matches instead of being 14-2, now they're 8-3, 8-4. Now you're banging with them.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the improvement. You're taking all that pain out on other people on the mat, and you start to elevate. So then my sophomore year, I got ranked up number 7 in the nation. And most embarrassing thing ever, now they don't even have it. Big Tens. It's the only tournament in the history of my wrestling where we call it going 0 for 2. Like you don't win, but you get eliminated for the tournament. I wrestle. And Big Tens is tough. It's the toughest tournament in anybody will tell you. Because I was ranked 7th. I'm wrestling the number 8th ranked dude first round. All right. We end up going to overtime. He beats me. Back, I come back, wrestle this guy from Wisconsin. He's like 11th. I'm 7. I still had to, should beat him, right? I lose again. I destroyed him. He just threw me at the end. I'm just like, I had to call my dad. We already had everything lined up. And I was like, I didn't make it. Like, I've been crushing everybody all year. So then my junior year, we was going to make sure that didn't happen. And that's the year I became my first time was in the semis, beat the number 1 seed at national tournament. And then my senior year, it was all about winning the title. But I had a really good guy, a guy named Joe Williams ahead of me, and I lost to him in the semis.
So, you see, I like that, though. Like when you go knock on the door and they ask you, like, do you win or not?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like psychologically, like setting is like high standards, right? And you know that if you want to go through that door, you have to like be consistent with the winning, right? Yeah. So it kind of like it does something to your psychology, right? And now you become this competitive guy. You're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna prove something to you, and I'm gonna come back and win it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I think like that's what like fighters or people involved in the fighting sports or even wrestling or whatever, right? Anything that has to do with combat. I think where they what they lack is the fact that like I'll send videos out to the fighters and to see their response, and I'll send out like a video of a guy. Let's just say, right, I'm just gonna like exaggerate, but the guy's throwing like a 10 round kicks in a second, right? When I was a kid, it was like, oh, I'm gonna throw like 20 in a second. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, that was my reference point, and I would try to beat that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people have lost that. Like they see someone doing something, and instead of them, it's not so much that you want to be like them, but you want to surpass them. And be better than them. So and I think that's what they lack a lot of times, like that creativity or that competitive nature or spirit. To say like, hey, man, I just saw this guy doing like crazy takedown. I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna do it better. I'm gonna do it faster. And they'll just see it, but it doesn't click like that. Unless someone tells them.
And we had to be more creative because when we came up, there was no YouTube to watch this stuff. So you would see it with your eyes, and now you got to take it back to the practice room. So 2 things that means you had to have somebody to practice with. These kids can do it these days at home by themselves.
Yep.
Try these moves with us. We were like, all right, man, I think it went like this. Let me go ahead and try this in real life and see how it works, because there was no YouTube.
Oh, no. You depended and you rely on the people around you, and maybe someone else coming from a different place and saying like, oh, man, I saw this move, and sharing with you, because like you said, I didn't have no YouTube or nothing like that. So it was like you were hoping that someone says something to you,
maybe some like grainy VHS.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and that was like, to get one of those, it was like here and there,
Yeah.
But and that's why I'm like technology. It's so great right now, especially like if you want to learn something. Now, obviously, you got to be able to discern like the information, because sometimes you don't want to come across that people are not giving you the right information, and then you start creating bad habits instead of good habits, But you should not just watch a video, go through the comments. There's people with knowledge as well that they're gonna make some comments, So do a little more of a due diligence as far as like researching and and reading through, so that way you can pick up the right things and not just do things you do, because then you create bad habits. What do you go to school for when you were in business?
Yeah.
So all these people that, like, let's say your mom and other people say like, no, like, what are you going to do in Ohio State? Like, kind of like questioning, right? Like the big question mark, quote unquote, type of thing. When did they get hooked in? Like, because how sometimes, like, when I say I wanted to be a coach, like, my parents are, but why you going to college, blah blah blah, you went to college, you got a degree, why are you gonna do that? And I was like, why not? That's what I want to do. Yeah. So
now my family's always, my mom wanted me to go to this small college because their coach, he catered to her. But then when I went to Ohio State, my family's always, they've always just supported me. I've never had that. Like, I never had a curfew growing up, things like that. Kevin took me up under the wing right away, so I brought him home. My mom and him, they called him Crybaby because Kevin would always, my sister would beat him in this game called Speed. So he was part of the family too. So they knew that I was all right with him, right? So I never really got that. I never got that at all. That and like people, my true freshman year, I was already doing well. So everybody at home believed me. Now I'm starting to get a following of, all right, now we got to watch out for Eric coming out of Dayton. And my one thing I wanted to be was like the best person to ever come from my city. And especially the best that come from my high school, that graduated from my high school. And then you develop that mindset in other people that see you make it up. So you're like, yeah, I want to let these kids know, like, you can come from here and make it, So that's a big motivation for me too. But yeah, I never really had that. And if I did, I was so far removed from it because I had set myself to hang out with people that success is all there was. So there was no, like, nobody ever having that negative, you ain't going to make it. The only people that would say that is people you beat in a wrestle out, but you beat them.
Yeah, and during those times too, it was a lot different. Like you didn't cater to trauma and drama, right? Like it was like, hey, shake it off, keep on moving, right?
Yeah.
That's what it came down to. And dude, I'm still, my mind is blown for because of the fact that you just say that Dan Gable's like, hey, you know, kind of acknowledge you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you know, he's a legend. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So for someone like him, like to say, hey, what's up, or even mention your name, you know, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
You remember it.
So here you are, right? Ohio State, senior year, you're still wrestling.
Yep.
How do you end up going into MMA? Like,
Kevin.
what like I mean I know
Yeah.
Kevin probably is a huge influence, you know, when it comes down to that, but what clicked within you to like say, you know what, I want to do that too?
Mark, a lot of this comes from Mark and Kevin. So we're watching Hoist Gracie in the first UFC. We're at my buddy Nick Nutter. Nick Nutter fought with us too. We're looking at Mark, and Hoist wins it. And we look, Mark's an Olympian at this time. We're like tough guys on campus.
But say who Mark is.
Mark Coleman,
Mark
UFC
Coleman.
Hall of Famer.
There you go.
Yeah, so Mark Coleman, we're watching it with Mark Coleman. Now, Mark Coleman's an Olympian at this time. National champ wrestlers, won a couple USA national freestyle titles, was on the national team. We just look at him and goes, you can win it. And at that time, you had to be great at your sport to even be able to get in the UFC. Like a regular just street fighter really wasn't getting in. Like they wanted a boxer, they wanted a kickboxer, a savate guy from France, you know, a Muay Thai guy, a jiu-jitsu guy, a karate guy.
A sumo guy.
Yeah, a sumo guy. So they were putting all these different fighting aspects to pit it against each other. And Mark, there was Dan Severingham and Don Fry. Those were the three wrestlers that were in at the game. And then Mark goes in and we're like, all right. He's like, all right, I'll do it. Somehow we got somebody in UFC's number. Next thing you know, we're all training. Now we're all fighters, just overnight. Just went from fighting in the street into fighters. And when Mark won it, Kevin had already graduated. Mark was like, hey, man, let's well, Kevin was the toughest dude on campus. So it was just like, we got fights on campus all the time. So next thing you know, Kevin's up. All right, Kevin, his first fight ever was over in Brazil. He's back in the day. Mark's fight where he won, I think it was UFC, say 11. I forget, it's one of the early ones. Tournament style. Put Kevin in a fight tournament style. No time limit. Kevin fought three monsters his first tournament. Did he win? You think he won that one? Or we might have lost to Carlos Pajeto that time. But the next one, he beat a guy named Danny Bobish. And then he won another one. So then it was who's up next? I was the oldest dude, the next person to graduate. Then I'm up. I'm fighting in a tournament in Brazil. So then next one up after that is Nick Nutter. Nick Nutter fights a guy named Igor Vochanchin, who's a monster, in the finals of a tournament over in Turkey. So that's like, we just, out of pure not knowing what the hell else to do, just that was your next step. And then I was training for the Olympics and fighting just to stay in shape, training for the Olympics more than anything else. Because at that time, there really wasn't a 200 and under. It was heavyweight and nothing, right? And I left college at 158, so maybe I'm 185, and I'm just like, you know, looking at Kevin and Mark, like, I can't fight these guys.
Yeah, they're huge.
There's no way. I don't care how good I am. Like, if it takes them having their worst day ever, me having one of my best days to win this fight, you can't fight like that. That's crazy.
That's insane, dude. Because and a lot of people, like, especially the younger generation, they don't understand. They don't know because they're younger. Obviously, there was a time that there was no amateurs. Yeah. There was nothing. You went straight into the pros, and you went into fighting. And for you guys, it was even a bigger challenge because you went to Brazil, where like people were already kind of like doing the Vale Tudo, you know. And so you guys go out there and take on these hard fights and stuff like that. I mean, you fought. Is that when you fought Dan Henderson
and Pele in the same night? Yeah.
You see, and those are like. People, if you're involved in MMA, you know those names.
Pele just knocked out Matt Hughes. So Pele was ranked number 1 in the world. So imagine your first fight ever being against the number 1 ranked guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we get to Brazil. I get to Brazil, I'm 20 pounds overweight. Never been that heavy in my life. I don't know what the hell but I remember we go to shoot the box and Kevin was like, all right, man, like we're going to go and train, right? He's like, when you get in there, you're fighting. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, since you're an American, they're going to try to beat your ass. And I was just like, flip the switch. Now when I'm training, I'm trying to destroy these guys because they're trying to make a name for themselves, like beating up an American. Because back then it was like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, an American. If I beat him in my dojo, I make a name for myself. So, that's how you start to win. Like Validia Schmel became a buddy, and all these people become friends with you because they see you train at Shoot the Box, where you're still one of the most intense environments that I've ever been in. And they see you train and how hard you train and how good you are. And like you said back then, not only are there's no amateurs, with me being from the Hammer House, who had a UFC champion, and Kevin had won 2 Brazilian tournaments. They're just put me on their level automatically. Like, he's good enough, so let's put him in his 4 superstar fight where there's only 4. Pele ranked #1 in the world. Dan, and probably going to be a future Hall of Famer. Dan Henderson, a Hall of Famer. Another Brazilian champ, and then me. And I'm just like, yo, I don't even get a warm up. I don't get a warm up. I don't get some buzz.
Not even to like a little taste. It's like straight into the fire.
Yeah, and you're talking about tournament style, which my first fight ever was. They had actually put a time limit on them now because these fights were carrying out too long. Yeah. So 20 minutes, no rounds. Like, we didn't have rounds where you got to, and probably luckily for me because Pele was a really good kickboxer, so I didn't want to get brought up too much, but. No rounds, man. So your win had to be incredible. Like, you had to be in shape. And Mark and Kevin tried to kill me for this fight. Like, probably the most in shape I've ever been. Went 20 rounds straight, no time period. Still have something in the tank for later on too.
You guys literally like embraced the fire. Like, you embraced the fire. You guys went right into the fire. There was no, like you said, there was no warming up into it. It was just like, boom, here's the fire. Go.
Yep. And back then, the only thing I was ever scared of, I cornered a fight where Mark Coleman lost to Pete. I forget his name, but he kicked him in the face, right? Mark got exhausted. And I remember we're sitting in the corner. There's nothing worse than your fighter being exhausted because all the coaching goes out the window. Now it's like, how do I protect my fighter? He's got nothing. Mark's got a shot chance. If you can hold him down, he can win. But his hands are on his knees. He's spent. And he gets kicked in the head and knocked out. Now he's on all the highlight reels with one of the best knockouts ever. And I remember seeing that going, I'm never going to get that tired. Like, that's all I cared about. I'm never going to get that tired because if I get that tired, then there's nothing I can do. So the first thing we would try to do is at practice, you get as tired as you can, as fast as you can. Because no fight starts until everybody's good until they're tired. Now you get as tired as you can, as fast as you can. That's when practice starts.
Absolutely. Because now the mental part kicks in as well. And what they call the heart, right? Like, having a heart, being tough is the mental part. What separated people like Mark and Kevin from other people, per se? Like, for them to have the determination and the will and stuff like that from other people, like when they were training, where they're intense, they just took it easy. You know what I mean? Like,
we would like something as simple as we would race to lift. So Kevin and Mark would be in the car and they'd be driving down on the sidewalk. So everything was a competition, starting from the moment we put on our clothes to go lift. We did this thing called Sprint the Hill. Whenever there's a hill, you have a book bag. It doesn't matter. You sprint up the hill. First one up the hill, wins. Me and Kevin had these tests. Man, and you guys got to remember, Kevin's like 30 pounds heavier than me. We used to just be a Friday night. We'd be like, all right, put your hands behind your back. And then I'd get up, pop him in his chest. He'd pop me in my first one that like doesn't go loses. So it was just a whole bunch of competition. So when you ask like where we get that from, number one, I think we're just tougher than everybody. We want to be known as tougher than everybody. Even when in wrestling, Kevin made it real simple to me. He said, if a guy can't beat you up, how are you gonna let him beat you in a wrestling match? So I really used to go into it like this, like, man, like even if I would have wrestled, Ben Askren is a great wrestler. But I'd have been seriously mad if, like, looking at him because he looked goofy, right? I'd be like, I ain't losing to this goofy dude. Now, would it happen or not? Who knows? But, like, nah, I'm going to beat this dude. Nah, I can't let this goofy dude beat me. So.
I feel like nowadays is one of the big problems that I encounter as a coach, and I see it from fighters in other gyms as well. They don't know how to detach from issues, right? So I guess they're not tough enough to where like anything else happens in their life disrupts the whole thing. Their discipline, their focus, things like that. Have you seen that?
So I coached at a local high school here at Jesuit, and I remember one year before states, I had 4 kids telling me like, "Coach, man, I have so much anxiety," and it made me think back. And this is probably like it could be a pro and a con to when we grew up, because we really couldn't open up like that. It wasn't cool for a dude to open up about trauma, past trauma, or mental weakness, anything like that. We just had to, when you get a whooping, it was shut up. Or give you something to cry about. If something was sad that day, what are you crying for, boy? But shut up, or I give you something to cry about. So you always compartmentalize your feelings at that time. So maybe that's why we were so tough, because there's no way we're going to show emotion like that. Where now people are almost told it's okay to talk like that, and now these people are like, "Whoa, I'm feeling all this anxiety." There was a kid, undefeated, Mason Arnold, my buddy, and he ended up going to Ohio State to long snap. He's at Michigan State now. He transferred out. He was undefeated. And he's like, "Man, I'm having so much anxiety." I go, "And what you see as anxiety I see as excitement, man. You're ready for this tournament. How are you thinking about this?" So sometimes, like I tell people, it's the same as riding a roller coaster, and you're scared of heights, and there's this excitement that you have, like, "Oh my God," right? Or now, is that fear and excitement? It's how you think about it. Like, which way are you thinking about it? So Mason was ready for the tournament. I go, "You're scared to lose." Who ain't? But that's why we compete. We're ready, man. Go show them boys what we train for. Like, because he came from a school here, Jesuit, where they didn't want him doing certain stuff. Like, they thought a heavyweight, they just wanted to play it safe he could win. I'm like, "Nah, man, we practice too hard. Go show these people what you got." Taught him a double leg. This double leg became sick. Nah, we ain't beating people 2-1. We ain't pinning them either, man. You got to take them down 4 times before you pin them. Show the crowd. Make the crowd, ooh. Yeah, man. Like, release your skills.
That's like having control over what's taking place.
Yeah.
That's the key, man. When you know where you want to take it and where you want to go, and how to do it, you're not afraid of that. And it's interesting that you say that, because when I was a kid, you're right. I remember my dad like scolding me, right? And he would always tell me, like, when someone talks to you, look at them in the eyes. So I would look at him. Then after a while, he'd be like, he keeps scolding me. And he says, "Why are you looking at me like that? Look down," right? So I'm looking down. He keeps scolding me. He's like, "Look at me in the eyes. Why are you looking at me like that?" I'm like, so it was pretty interesting, because I didn't know how to react. So one time he tells me, "If you go to school and someone messes with you and you don't take care of that, don't come back to his house." Then he says, on the same breath, he says, "When you go to school, if you get in trouble and they call me from school, I'm going to whoop your behind and you're not coming back to his house." So I'm like, which one is it?
Yeah.
So it started creating a little monster, because I would get into situations and someone would kind of like try to step to me, and I would just go, I'm holding my backpack, and I would just go, pop, 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 and grab my backpack and just keep moving like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was more scared of my dad.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can't get in trouble, but I got to resolve the situation.
Yeah.
But it creates certain things, right? As I started getting older, then I was like, I became a little more of a monster, because now I'm like, now you can't tell me anything, like, and my emotions are kind of like, all right. And obviously I went through little things, at some point in my life, I was homeless and I didn't have stuff to eat. So, you don't think about those things. You got to toughen up and keep moving forward. But competition, that's the other thing. And I think I tried to share that with the fighters, where I'm like, look, many of you guys come from like single parents' homes. You come from like different situations, people that came from living in shelters, people that went without food or money, many things. This is fighting. Yeah. Like, you're supposed to like have a little bit of fear, because that's what's going to keep your reflexes, your instincts going. But the key here, you're a fighter because you're fighting to overcome that fear. Yep. Most people won't, and that's the problem. Like when people are showing the self-defense classes, and I'm like, you can teach people any move that you want, but if someone comes and starts choking you, fear is going to kick in, and that move is going to go out the window. So you should learn how to overcome fear first to be able to react, to be able in control of your emotions, not panic, and be able to react to those things. And obviously, I can tell, like, Kevin, Mark, tough dudes.
Yeah.
Different times, but tough dudes, and it creates all the other situations, all their mental health situations. I feel like, even for myself, like, because you contain so much inside that at some point it has to affect you a little bit. And absolutely. So you go to school, you graduate in business, Ohio State. How do you feel to be an All-American?
That felt good, especially the first time. Second time, the goal was a national title.
Mm-hmm.
So not getting that goal makes you feel a certain type of way, but understanding, I had a guy message me the other day, Keith Saraki, and I lost him at the University Nationals. He was like, man, he just reached out to me, and now we're friends. And he's like, hey, man, I just want you to know, like, he had made the Olympic team over Matt Linland. And at this time, the challenge rule in the Olympics was real weird. They watched the video. They took it to court, and Matt Linland ended up getting a decision in court to be on Olympic team over this dude,
oh, wow.
Keith Saraki. It's crazy. You can Google it, man.
Yeah.
But he was like, I just want you to know, man, you helped make me who I am, because I would tell people I beat you, and they thought you were so good. They were like, no, man. But he had wrestled. I remember that he had wrestled for the Army. He didn't go to college. So at this time, again, it was a little bit different. In college, you would wrestle. So then I want to make an Olympic team. And you would then go to freestyle season. Well, freestyle and collegiate wrestling are two different styles. Army people wrestle freestyle the whole time. So a good Army dude on top or bottom that knows how to turn you, and you don't really get to practice it all year, they're usually going to come out ahead if they're pretty good. And that's who he was. And he was a Greco guy, had a nice gut range. So he would I would beat him on my feet. But as soon as we get to the mat, he had an advantage. So coming back senior year, an All-American, that was expected. It was not winning a national title. That hurt a little bit because you put all I remember, and after that, you still got to make weight that night. So I lose in the semis to a guy named Joe Williams, who won like 3 national titles, one of the best wrestlers in the history of USA Wrestling. And I still got to lose 9 pounds. I remember I was telling coach, I was like, I'm over this, right? I ain't doing this no more. Like, this is stupid. I ain't losing 9 pounds. Mind you, I'm on the bike losing 9 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm kind of messing with you. I'm probably going to make weight. So more than anything else, man, that stung a little bit. That sticks with you. But if you set your goals high enough, you achieve stuff that people look up to.
Yeah.
So now when I go back and I talk to Ohio State, I was like, I want me to be like the worst that we do, you guys. I want the minimum that everybody in this room is looking at me, talking to me right now. Minimum is to do better than me. That's a 2-time semifinalist, right? 2-time All-American, no scholarship, walk on. Like, I walked on at Ohio State. I earned my scholarship. You guys got way more than I got. Way more. So now what are you going to do with that opportunity? It's just like you said, are you going to take it and run with it? Are you going to be upset there's a guy that's better than your weight class right now? Like right now, transferring out, it's big. If they can't make a team, then they're going to transfer out that next year. Nah, man, take that spot. That spot's yours. You got to take that. Like, you can't let nobody else have it. I remember my head coach, he would recruit people in my weight class, and I'd get them in as a freshman. I'd be like, I told you I would fuck them up. And I look at him and say, I told you not to recruit him. Don't recruit nobody at my weight class. I'm going to hurt him. And I let him know, like, I'm slamming them on their head. Hey, Smith, be careful. Nope, don't recruit nobody. It's a wasted scholarship, bro. Like, I'm going to hurt this person anytime you bring somebody in at my weight. Ain't nobody got this spot. It's my spot.
I love it. But that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Like you have to have that healthy ego and a healthy pride.
Yeah. Right.
And obviously, I'm saying that because, like, you're not going to go and shoot someone in the leg, right?
Yeah.
But you have to destroy them psychologically and physically. You got to put a pounding on them to understand that, hey, I'm the one, right? But you got to have that healthy ego, that healthy pride that's going to drive you. But what's more interesting is the fact that when you said earlier how in your mind, in your spirit, right, you always wanted to represent your town, like as best as possible, and be the one that made it out of there. Was it a small town where you?
You're right. It's a suburb of Dayton. Now we got some stars in Dayton, But at that time, I was the first person that really went to a D1 school and did big things. Since then, we've had Braxton Miller. We had coach at Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, Will Allen. We've had some great people.
Yeah.
Will Allen played for the Bucks here.
Yeah.
Braxton Miller, most exciting football player, offensive football player I've ever seen in college, right? So we've had people from my high school make it big. But it was me and Jermaine. Jermaine went D1. My buddy Dwight went D1. My buddy Otis went D1, and I went D1. And at that time, I think we're four friends. We're all seniors, and that's the first time it happened. And we're like, all right, now we're setting a level where now we can be great.
But that's the domino effect.
Yep.
Because you guys made it to a level, took it to a different level. Now it kind of creates this, it trickles down to everybody else. Now people start creating bigger aspirations.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? They did it. We can do it too. Because they came from our town. They came from where we from.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of it. And I think that's why it's important to hold on to things like that. Because it's bigger than fighting. It's bigger than wrestling. It's bigger than anything else. To be able to years later recognize that your efforts, your actions, led to a different vibe, like motivated other people, other kids. And that's why, like, when as a coach, I'm always proud of like representing Tampa.
Yeah.
Right. I always tell the guys, like, we got to put Tampa on the map. I don't care if there's other people that are already out there, but I feel like we going to do it, and we got to do it even better.
Yeah, like you're a tough town. You find somebody from Tampa that's tough.
Absolutely, and I want people to be like, you guys, you want to be a fighter, you want to do this, you have to go to Tampa. Just like they know we got a badass lightning team, a hockey team, a baseball team, a football team.
Yeah.
I want it to be like that for everything else.
Yeah.
Because people know if you want to play sports, usually most sports, right? People come to Florida.
Yeah.
They know it's like a sports state. If you want to wrestle, everyone knows you go to the Midwest, right? You got the Ohio State, the Iowas, and things like that, Penn State, and things like that. So, and that's why I think it's so important to understand that, to understand that it's bigger than whatever you're doing, and if you hold on to it and you utilize it properly, it can drive you very far. It can take you very far, very, very far.
Yeah, with that, now mind you, yes, I did try to hurt everybody in my weight class, but then you would also mentor them.
Absolutely,
you break them, and your whole goal was to break them, and then you mentor them back up. Like a good buddy of mine, Mitch Clark, we used to battle every day. It's funny because now I go back to college, and all these kids, they look up to me. Like these, and we're talking attorneys. These are business owners now, and they're always like, we'll go up, meet out, and they're like, "Hey, Eric, what do you want to do?" I'm like, "You guys, you're old. Like, you guys are killing it right now. Don't look at me for the answers, you guys." And then the reason I always ask them, they always give me a story of when I tell you, me and Kevin fought all the time. We fought way too much in college because everybody wants to try the wrestlers, and up north, just people fight at the bar. That's what you do in college. Yeah. And there's always a story like, "Hey, man, I remember I was at this bar and this guy was messing with me. You came up." Another guy, "Hey, I was at this frat party. They hit me and you brought all the wrestlers over there. Something else that you stuck up for me here." So it was just natural for me, even though, because Kevin meant that's that stewardship. He stewardship that me. And one thing we had was, I remember one time, Kevin and my buddy Raymond Mendoza, they're both passed away now. They fought two football players. And I remember Raymond massacred a dude and slammed me through a table, and Kevin beat up the other football player. And ever since then, us and the football players ain't never had no problems. We're always friends, right? But Kevin goes, "We can never let anybody on campus beat up a wrestler because we don't want them to think that they can beat up a wrestler. Like, that ain't happening on my watch, man." So it was like you said, if there was a fight breaking out, we're winning it, and wrestlers like to fight anyway. We had a whole bunch of short dudes that like to fight, so I just happened to be the dude that was big enough to make sure everything went all right.
and that's how it is. It's kind of like that's your community, that's your family, and you got to protect your family, and you take pride in that. And when you're able to take pride in that, like the whole team becomes almost unstoppable, because like everyone is pushing. Everyone feels like, hey, the big brothers, the little brothers. We're here to push one another, to challenge one another, to help one another, to put ourselves in the worst case scenario. So when we go out there, who's going to stop us, And that's what I tell the guys. You guys go through so many things in life, family, financial situations, this, that, a whole load of things. They can each write a book about what went down, in their lives. So fighting is just, hey, it's just fighting. Like you grew up without let's just say, hey, you grew up without a dad. What's worse than that? You know what I mean? Or without parents, you grew up in the foster system.
Yeah.
What can be worse than that? Like you're still here. But now, obviously, when you competing, it just takes a different mindset. You got to take it to a different level if you want to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand like how hard you got to be like possessed and obsessed with like training. And when you're training, like you're not letting down, right? Like you step on the gas and you go, because that's how you're gonna create that the mental stamina, mental endurance. And a lot of people understand that because they try to always stay in the safe zone, in the comfortable zone. Like, oh, I want to be comfortable. I don't want to be put in a bad position. I don't want to look like a punk or whatever. And like you said, it's always important that when new people come in, the older people show them a little bit of humility, right? And how do you do that? You put a bit of hurting on them, right? So they understand like, hey, I'm the one here. And then you mentor them, right? Because one day they got to take your spot. As you move on, they take your spot.
Process. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what I like about like wrestling. Anything that has to do with combat. Like there's there's like unwritten, unspoken. I'm going to humble you. If you come in here thinking that you are the men, and you come in here and like, hey, you never know. The skinny guy right there has been doing this for many years, and he's going to pick you up and put you in your head. And wrestling. I love wrestling. I always tell people I'm like a wrestler at heart, right? Because wrestling is such a great foundation because of the grind. Every other sport, they have moments. You got a moment for range, outside range. You got a moment for inside range. You got a moment to move and circle, to attack, to defend. Right? There's always moments. But wrestling is such a grind. It's just a long moment. And you don't stop until the ref tells you to stop. And it's just like constantly, like the pressure is there. You feel everything. That you feel the knees, the elbows, the forearms, everything. And that's why I was like, I even tell like parents when they start asking me about martial arts, where they should they start the kids. Any martial art is great, but I tell them if you want your kid to have a good foundation, learn how to balance his body, how to utilize his body, how to utilize his strength and things like that. Have him wrestle. Because it changes your mindset as well. Changes your mindset, and I think it does. Just like striking sports, like taking a punch to the face is not an easy thing, and you got to be wired a little differently. But like wrestling is such a grind, like consistently, your breathing that is even totally different from other things, because when you're doing striking or you're doing some of the other stuff, you got a moment to rest and breathe. When you're wrestling, it's just go, 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 go. And it's a totally different type of stamina and endurance, and your breathing pattern is totally different from everything else. How's because I feel like I've come across other people and like people that used to wrestle, and they've always said how wrestling has helped them tremendously in life. Because to be able to have that mental endurance and stamina.
With that, and like it's the no glory sport. Not a lot of people know a lot of wrestlers. So you're competing, like you got your football players. You get a lot of girls just because they're good at football, soccer. Basketball. Baseball. Oh man, they make the big bucks. Wrestlers like a no glory sport. You're not making a lot of money after college. Why am I doing this? Why am I back in the day, and even now? Why am I cutting this weight? So not only do I have to be on my game. Now, you throw weight cutting in there, that's another factor that you put into play, which is mentally can break people. We've seen, we used to shut people in the sauna and wouldn't let them out because they would they would get out and not make weight. So I was going to make sure they make weight. So we shut it. You see grown men crying, "Let me out of here!" You know, you'd be at a wrestling tournament and you'd be rooming with some guy that's got to make weight. You wake up in the middle of the night because the faucet's running, and they just got their head up under the faucet trying to drink water. You're like, "Hey man, slap in the back of the head. No, you can't do that. We got to make this weight, man." And this was back in the day where you had to make weight 24 hours before. Now they got to make the weight the day up because people are cutting too much weight.
Yeah.
But the fighter's mentality, we'll get back on that because I'll touch on this. There are there's some tough guys out there, that wrestlers that were just better than everybody else, but I don't think they like to get punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And one name that's a bad dude, but I can tell you right now, I don't think he'd like to get punched in the face was Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
You know, you saw when he gets hit, he covers up
shies
fast,
away, yeah.
and then the fight's over. I was part of there's this one great documentary called The Smashing Machine. Yeah. I grew up with, I was in those moments.
Yeah.
That's when I was training with Mark Kevin. Mark Kerr was the same way. He was so talented. Mark Kerr didn't like to get hit in the face. And I tell people that, they're like, "Oh man, he's so tough." Nah, I'm like, nah, man, there's a difference, bruh. He was talented. He's way better than him. But if he met his equal talent and he didn't break him, oh man, we knew the fight was
you get challenged psychologically.
Yeah, and you can't break him with your knees, and now you can't wrestle him. Now you're fighting. Oh, your fight was over. We knew I ain't gonna make it through that.
Yeah,
because he ain't got that dog in him, man. And that's when that's the next thing that steps up. And then you got average fighters that aren't supposed to be that great that have that dog in them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's weird. I go no matter how talented. It's like Bo Nichols. I've seen this guy since he's a kid, and I'm excited to see him fight. Right, I just haven't seen him get hit yet. Do I think he's going to be great? Yeah, I need to see him get tested.
I think that's the big question. Because I saw him all throughout Penn State, right, throughout the tournaments and stuff like that. I was like, this kid is amazing. Like the stuff that he does, and he's including a little bit of something else here and there. You know what I mean? Like some jiu-jitsu moves and little things like that. He's very crafty. Yeah. And it's crazy because if you saw him out there on the street, he looks like a regular dude. Yeah. You know, like his body is just like a regular body, right? He's not muscled up, anything like that. But you can tell that he's strong and he's very technical and he's very savvy when it comes down to wrestling. But when he fought, I was like, he's explosive. He'll come out. He's trying to beat you up, but we still haven't seen him take a punch. Yeah. And that's when it's going to tell us like how far is he going to take it? Yeah. You know, because with everything else that he's doing, like I said, like I used to tell the fighters all the time, like, "Oh, look at this guy," and send him videos. I'm like, Bo Nickel. Oh, he's wrestling today. You know, even my son, he wrestled all throughout high school, and I was like, "Oh, look at Bo Nickel." Blah blah. We would talk about him. Oh, look at the move. Oh, look how he got out of the situation. Blah blah blah. And but I was like, man, okay, he's doing great right now, but we got to see him get kicked, get punched in the face, and then that changed. Because when you were fighting, dude, it was tough. Because at the time, how that it's tough? Because you were allowed to go into the cage with wrestling shoes. Yeah. Yeah. You see what I mean? That's how that's how tough it was. Like, people don't understand this.
Bro, we was in Brazil and Kevin would be fighting and we would have the MMA tournaments in a boxing ring. And in Brazil, all the dojos would be there. Mm-hmm. So you're fighting. Kevin's fighting the guy. I was in a cage, but Kevin was fighting the guy. He's fighting the crowd because they don't want Americans to win. And he's fighting the dojo. And what I mean by that is when you rolled out the ring, if you went out the ring, the dojo's all shoving you back in the ring. And I remember, I forget who we beat. And we say we because we all
it was one.
Yeah,
it was one.
When Kevin got that title, he's like, "We got this title." Yeah. Because you took these beatings, you know what I mean? And I remember once, I forget who it was, after a fight, Kevin and Mark are yelling at the dojos, and they're like, "Man, I don't know if we're gonna make it out of here alive." Because there ain't enough security to stop these big crowds, right? Every time you fall out, they're pushing you back in. You fall out of the ring, they're picking you up, So it was crazy time. Hot, no time limit. Like, it was bananas over in the Valley to the world.
You know what's crazy that you say that? Because Brandon right there, he's half asleep. But I would, and you can ask him, he's my witness. I tell the guys all the time, until you guys move as a unit, we only gonna make it so far. That's it. When you guys understand it is we
Yeah.
and not I, that's when things are gonna really change. You know, and you gotta have, because you have to be married into whatever it is that you're trying to do. And when you become a unit and you understand that you have a group of people and it is not just you, but we are all champions. We are all winners. We are all losers, you know? Like, we lost. It's not just you lost. There's no pointing fingers. It's like we all lost. We lost as a team because we are one and it's a community. And that's how I like to move, you know? But a lot of times, like, obviously people understand those things at different times, right? Some people pick it up right away. Some people understand it. But that's where I got to be careful as a coach, because that can create also like other challenges, you know, and distort the mindset of the other people, because it's kind of like having that little buzz in your ear, and someone's telling like, oh man, no, you guys are not good. Oh no, you know, you don't believe in what we're trying to do. But
with college, we had it automatically given to us. So the big college, you're a team, so you're unit, you move together. And luckily, from there, we were right in the same city, all went to college together, so we already shed blood together. So now we're moving as a unit, meaning we're, after practice, we're at somebody's house either playing video games or eating. But there's 4 or 5 of us. You know, when it was me, Mark, Kevin, Nick, we're all together all the time. Just because who else is going to really understand this world, right? Where in having a gym these days, you got people coming in and just coming in for practice, and they might leave. Now they're by themselves, and they're coming in. So it's each individual pieces. So you're like, nah, man, we gotta have a night where we all eat together. What we doing after practice today? We gotta stay and move like that. That's how you would build that camaraderie to now believing in everybody. Because like there was a couple of Cage Furies ago, I went and watched, and you guys went like 5-1. And remember that one loss was like a BS loss. And then the last one, you didn't have the outcome that you wanted to, and you come back and you guys all licking your wounds. Like, all right, man, that shows you that success can change like this.
Absolutely.
Like just like this, people go from y'all good. Now, if we have another bad performance, we're gonna get a lot less people, or you get more people like, oh, I want to fight them now because they can't fight.
So and right there at that point, it was interesting because Max, he won, but Max, before his fight, he could just tell me. He kept telling me, he's like, Coach, we're gonna have a glorious day. Coach, we're gonna go beat this guy up. Coach, he kept telling me, just telling me. The other guys were going through like some little emotion here, emotion there. Max was like, and Max was going through things. Like, I know what he was going through. Like in his personal life, he was going through something big. And people don't know. I know because I'm the coach. And he came and told me he was going through this. He even like shed tears, you know, but he never allowed that to get in between. And consistently, he just kept telling me, like, Coach, we're going to go out there. We're going to do this. And I'm going to do that. And I don't care. So when it was the day to fight, he was just like, whoo, it's my day. You know, let's go. Let's do this. I'm ready. And that's where I think a lot of people get confused, because other people tell them, you need to go and you know, it should be fun. You know, you got to have fun and stuff like that. I'm like, you guys are confusing having fun with it being fun, right? When like they were bringing someone else your weight class and you were telling them, I'm going to hurt him, I'm going to do this, you were having fun because you were bringing the intensity into it. See, that's having fun. But people think like having fun is having a good time. People think like having fun is like, oh, okay, just relax, just breathe. Oh, you tired? Okay, stop, relax. You know, you don't have to do that. That's what they think is having fun, enjoying the thing. Like, no, you gotta enjoy the fire. That's, for me, you have to enjoy the fire. You gotta enjoy, embrace the challenge. That's where it is. And that to me, that's having fun. You know, I'm gonna have fun with this. It's just a fight. Let's go. You know, oh, can things go this way, that way? Absolutely. But I'm not gonna let it.
I can't control the results, man. I'm gonna go out there and do what I'm gonna do.
And I always tell him, it doesn't need to be funny. It doesn't need to be nice all the time. Sometimes you got to make it ugly, but it's just your mind and your will, you know, to like go out there and like, you know what, I'm going to punch him. I don't care what he throws. I don't care what he does. I'm going to kick him, I'm going to take him down.
Yep.
I don't care if he throws a knee. How many times you see in the UFC, people get knee, but they still get the takedown.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's so important, man, to have the mindset. And wrestling creates a type of mindset because, like, for example, like seeing my son wrestling all throughout high school, he every weekend, Friday and Saturdays and Sundays sometimes, and they will go and wrestle. Right? You need to know who you're wrestling.
Yeah.
You got to cut weight. You cut a few pounds. I see kids eating donuts and all kinds of things to get the sugar up, right? But you were consistently competing, and you didn't know who you were competing. And because you compete on Friday, but then on Saturday you still got to cut weight again. So it's not like you cut weight on Friday and then you don't care about the rest. No, so it's a consistent grind that you have to do. And I think that's what makes you tough. And then you don't look at things as like, oh my God, I got to cut weight. Because a lot of people defeat themselves. They sabotage themselves by start thinking negative about cutting weight. Like, oh my God, I hate cutting weight. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't even want to go there. Like, if you start talking like that, then that's what's going to happen. Like, you got to embrace the challenge, understand that you got to cut weight because, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And sometimes if you do things right, you only cut this much.
It's funny. Kevin put a mindset in my head. I remember I was wrestling 150, and then Kevin went up from 167. He took second in the nation his freshman year, and he went up to 177, which is a big jump, right? Kevin's short too. People are like, you're crazy. Can't believe you're going up. And I remember my sophomore year, my freshman year, I was 150. He's like, I was tired of cutting weight. He goes, well, quit crying. Just get bigger and go up a weight class. That's what I did. And then you start to skyrocket because now you're just bigger. Like if you crying about cutting weight, then be better at bigger. Like you trying to cut weight because you want to be the biggest dude in your weight class. What if you're not the biggest dude? You're just better than everybody else, but you're fresher. Like, so there's two options there, man. I don't need to always cut weight. Do you want to cut weight? Yeah. But I don't need to always cut weight.
Yeah.
Depending on where I am in my life. Like if I was a young kid now, I would look at it like, all right, do I feel more fresh when I cut? If I'm not, am I doing it just because I want to be the strongest dude at the weight? Because that's the only reason you cut, right? Or you're scared of somebody at a double weight. If not, then I'm going up. I'm cutting less weight. And that way, when this guy sucked out during the fight, I'm not. And I can go. Now I got to push the pace to tire him out. If I ain't cutting weight, then you got to push the pace.
And that's why it's so important to understand that it's a lifestyle, right? It's an everyday thing, especially if you want to maintain your weight down because you train so much that you get hungry.
Yeah.
And you want to eat everything.
You have to.
So you got to create a lifestyle that is going to sustain that, and so you don't blow up. And if you don't have the lifestyle, then you're going to keep going up and down, up and down. At one point, you're not going to go down anymore because that's how the body works.
As you get older, you're going to keep getting bigger.
Yeah. Like, oh man. Great. So, what do you see like nowadays? For example, like when you see fighters, what do you think they lack a little bit? Like from your experience and just seeing things, now like coming across different fighters and different coaches. Like what do you think is something that handicaps
a lot? Like I noticed compared to, and this again, all this is a different time era. So
yeah, absolutely.
So many gyms. So now people aren't. Like, okay, back in the day, if you were probably out of Columbus, Ohio, you were training with us because we were the only gym there. And there might have been one more, but we didn't care. And we would go to that gym and we'd practice with that gym. Now you're competing with. Now I've noticed sometimes gyms won't go to other gyms because they don't want each other competing with each other before a fight. Or even when we would wrestle in high school. We go to other high schools and wrestle with them. Like, I don't care if I got to wrestle them in a week. It just is what it is because we're all making each other stronger. So that would be a big thing. Like, there's so many gyms that people aren't getting the best out of each other because they're only practicing with who's in their gym. And then you can only get so good that way because everybody's going to start learning each other and they know what to do and what not to do. That probably people not knowing how to, I call it Tupperware, not able to compartmentalize their struggles. Like when you open up that door and you step on this mat, Urban Meyer had to say that as soon as you step on that field, it's go time. And if people stepped on that field and they were wrong, he would kick them off his field, man. Go back. You ain't ready. You're dressing. You're not ready now. Just when we get here, it's time to compete. There ain't going to be no, I'm feeling sorry for myself. sorry, I'm your coach, but as soon as you step on that mat, I won't hear about no problems. I won't hear about no personal problems. We can talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, this is what we're here to do. We're here to do a job. We're here to be professional, and we're here to get the best out of ourselves. So you got to make sure that's happening. Besides that, man, I actually think these kids are way more developed than we are, just because they have way more access to information than we've ever had before. But what are you doing with that? And then now, there's a great quote, and this is what reminds me now. And it says, "Hard times make strong men."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then what's it like? A strong man. Basically they go, then strong men make weaker men because they have it so good they don't want them to go through
the same thing.
Yeah. And then and then weak times make weak men.
Yeah.
So as you develop, and we went through hard times, and things are so good right now, I think the lower mindsets aren't as tough as they can be, because they're getting coddled where there might be. I mean, we can go straight as far as we got whoopings growing up. They ain't getting whoopings no more, right? We were scared of our fathers more nowadays. People are talking back to elders. You're like, yo, I'm never talking about. I think I got a whooping from my aunt, my uncle, every single aunt and uncle.
I think the whole neighborhood was involved in the racing.
And now that's not happening. So of course, you're not going to be as tough that way. And people, as Mike Tyson always says, there's just too many people allowed to talk mess without getting knocked out.
Consequences, yeah. And that it have. I remember, and I share this with the guys sometimes. There was no you talking crap, because you get whooped. Nowadays people can say things. Then when you see them, they now that everyone is a victim. But they quick to say things to degrade you. They quick to,
especially online.
Yeah, well, absolutely. They're tough.
Mm-hmm.
They're tough. So it's interesting what you're saying about gyms, cross training with other gyms, right? Because I believe in it to a certain point, and then what it is, I try to be careful, because sometimes if they go to the wrong gym, they might not have the right philosophical approach to things, and what happens a lot of times coaches see everything as a business. So when they have someone else come from another gym, they want to point out what they believe is everything that the other coach is doing wrong, right? Because they're like, oh, you should come and train with us. So they start poaching on fighters, right? Instead of just trying to help them out. I have good friends that I can take the guys to. I can tell the guys, go out there, because those guys are going to have the best interest in the fighters and trying to help them. So when we have people coming over to spar one of the guys, I don't allow people to corner, especially if the guy doesn't come with a coach. Because I always tell the guys, bring your coach. Why? Because why are you going to be sparring and not learning? All you're doing is learning how to take an ass whooping, right? But if you bring your coach can give you instructions. Now, if you come over, I don't get involved. What I do is I have some of the pro fighters cornering you, and then I have another one of the coaches or another one of the pro fighters corner the other guy to help him. So kind of even it out. But I don't like just for someone to come in and for me to tell my fighter or the fighter that I coach, give him instructions and not give the other guy instructions. I don't like that. That's why I like to have coaches come around, And there's a lot of insecurity. A lot of coaches, they feel insecure. They feel like, oh, if you go over there, I might lose you, or because you might see something different. And I don't even think it's about that. For me, I like for other people to cross train. The problem is that a lot of times they come in with with a negative intention, and instead of trying to want the best for the fighter, they want to disturb the peace, they want to create certain negativity. But I'm all for it. I'm always when there's people out there that I'm always hey, let's cross train. We'll come out here, whatever, stuff like that, or they can come over. But at the same time, a lot of people are not going to come over to us because we train tough, and a lot of people don't want to come in because I don't know what it is. Listen, first of all, if you come over, we're never going to take advantage of that. So I'm never going to tell the wolves to go bite him. It's not like that. It's more oh, he's over here. let's work.
Yep.
We have an extra body. He does things differently. Let's work. Let's see. There's been many fighters that have come around and they've liked it. They came from other states. They train with other gyms. They fight professionally. And we don't put it out there. But they come around and they like it.
Yeah.
And like I said, like guys might be like, oh, let me go hard. I'm like, no. Train, be intense.
Right,
like they give energy. You give energy, but it's also about trying to help them because they're helping you in a sense. And that's what happens, But other than that, man, I'm always good, Like I just don't want to. I guess I'm become protective of the fighters just to make sure that wherever they go, they have the right information, and it's people that want to see them do well. There's fighters, and I don't say this, but I'm gonna share this. There's fighters that actually contact me and message me, and they even come around sometimes to train, and I try to help them, and I never tell them to come over to the gym, and people don't even know who they are. You see, I don't take pictures with them. I don't do none of that. They'll message me like, "Hey, coach, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about my?" And I never tell them like, "Oh no, you." Now I'm like, dude, just go sit down. Like talk to your coaches first. See what your coaches tell you. I never tried to make any coach look bad.
Yeah.
And then, I always tell people like, go sit down with your coach, have a conversation, see what is it that you're looking for, but in individual basis, like don't go out there like talking crap. Don't go on social media talking crap. Don't badmouth the person, because maybe it was your fault. A lot of times fighters, they do stupid things before fights, and then they wonder why they lost, and they want to point fingers at someone else, and it's not like that. Like people don't know everything that's going on, and I've seen it happen. Like they'll go do stupid things, then they show up for the fight, or they haven't been consistent with the training. Then when they fight, obviously you see it shows that there's looking.
Jacko Williams has a good book on that called Extreme Ownership. Now you guys should read it.
I'm gonna look into it.
It's always your fault.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Because if anyone loses in the team, I take responsibility for it, and then I come back and I start like thinking, how are we going to fix this?
Better,
How are we going to adjust it? How are we going to, like I told him, this year is going to be totally different, and he can tell you I'm doing things different, and I'm always going to keep adjusting until like I get what I want, which is like I want all of them. Everyone's competing. Like we got to set the high standards, and shoot for it and not be afraid of it.
Yeah.
We have to be ambitious with it if we're doing it. But at the same time, we try to find a balance because obviously I want them to be good people. You're only going to be a fighter for so long, and you're going to be a good human being, for the rest of your life. That's the majority of your life, you being a human being. Being an athlete is only so much, So what happens when you're not fighting anymore? You gotta become business savvy, like, know how to invest your little money that you make, things like that. Understand that you're a brand and
yeah. And I was talking to you, like even talking to Tito last night. He's a changed person, man. Me and him almost got in a fight in the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City because Kevin had lost to Chuck. I cornered the fight. Kevin's fighting Chuck Liddell. I'm in Kevin's corner. Tito's in Chuck. And then Chuck clips Kevin. Kevin buckles a little bit. The ref stops it a little too early. Kevin's mad. And then Tito's just chirping. Shut up. You got your ass whooped. Blah, blah, blah. So I talked to Tito about that last night. He's like, man, I was training Chuck. I was shooting on him forever for that fight. And then you can see this different version of him. And he was a really nice guy. And he was like, even when he was leaving to go to the stadium, he was like, hey, man, nice chopping it up with you. And I'm just like, man, I can't hate you no more. I really wanted to dislike you for my whole life. But nah, man. But back to your point, you're going to be an ex-fighter a lot longer than you're going to be a fighter.
Yeah.
So now what are you going to do? Like, what else are you doing to build your mind? Which, can help in fighting too. What are you putting in your brain? Every day? Are you just, stay away from social media if I was anybody, because who can deal with that negativity? Even though I know you get a following from that. Don't be reading the negative stuff. But what else are you putting in your brain? What audibles are you listening to? What books are you reading? What are you doing with your mind? How are you learning? How are you progressing mentally? In order to become a better person or a better fighter? What are you doing outside of practice? Not just in practice. The hardest lessons to learn are in the ring. So what are you practicing before you get in that ring or that octagon? What are you practicing? That way when you get in there, not only are you physically sharp, you're mentally sharp.
Absolutely. And that's why just the other day I was reminding them, I'm like, on your daily life, especially when it comes down to training and everything else in life, you have to have the mindset of a white belt.
Yeah.
You know, you always got to come in with that white belt mindset as far as like learning and absorbing. Now, when you're training, you have to be a warrior. You know, you got to be extremely competitive, but you always got to be a white belt too, to be able to learn and absorb from other people. You know. So what do you do now? Like, what is the business that you handle now?
Yeah, I build basically now. I build teams of insurance agents, teach them how to make money. We do very well. One of the things I did this year, I think the 5th person on my team got a 6-figure ring. So we give out these 6-figure rings. So that's good. When you see you building other people up, just like sports, building other people up, and they start doing well, and it starts to change their life. And it's the same thing. Teach them how to duplicate a process. I call it pattern recognition. I got that from Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
If I can pattern recognition is the key to life. If I recognize a pattern when it comes into work, so with work, our pattern recognition would be, hey, if I make the phone calls, I go by and see the people, I ask for the sale, I should have this much result from it. In practice, if I do the work, if I'm running, I should be in shape. If I'm lifting, I should stay strong. If I'm spending time in the gym doing jujitsu, my hands is right, I should see the success. So just figure out the pattern recognition. Instead of trying to figure out this whole puzzle, I figure out a pattern. I remember back in the day, I was really good at Pac-Man because I had a pattern that I could beat the board in all the time. Same thing in life, man. If you figure out those patterns, really stick to that, figure out a success pattern, try to duplicate that. And the next thing you know, you set it down the line and keep duplicating and watch not only you grow, but you start to grow other people. And that's the key to life.
Because it comes down to, people might see it as an individual sport, but it's more of a team sport. So it's like got to be a balance there, you know. I always I try to convey this to the fighters, but I'm like, look, you're going in the cage, but you're not going in there by yourself. Like, you think that you're in there by yourself physically, but spiritually, you always got to remember that you have a whole team behind you. You know. So when we work, is a community effort, and when you go in there, you are the one that is going to display that work.
Yep.
And you see all of your years of like competition, right, is led you to this type of business to be able to structure teams and teach them how to be individuals, but also how to work as a team.
Yep.
And that's crazy, man. I mean, that's really cool because, you know, here we have a guy from small town, you know, with just simple goals and stuff like that. And as you start blossoming with the sport, you know, your goals keep getting bigger. You know, you become a little more ambitious in that sense. And a big task to be the one person that wants to make it out of that town and put it on the map, right? And then create this motivational pattern, I guess, or inspirational pattern, you know, and people like, look, he made it, you know, or they made it, you know, we can make it too, you know, and it's pretty cool. And now here you have, you know, you running your business, you know, staying busy. You still living downtown or? Yeah.
They want a high rises downtown.
Yeah, and it's not cheap out there, so you know, so you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, bro,
and that's what it comes up. So you got the little guy from the small town. Look how far he's made it, you know, and just putting in the work. You know, like that's awesome, dude. Like, dude, I'm glad that you came over. You know, hopefully we can have you another time, you know, in the future, and you know, for sharing your story. I'm pretty sure you're gonna motivate and inspire other people out there too. You know, Tampa Bay in the house. So you know, we're gonna keep trying to do our thing, and hopefully we see you at the gym now. You know, come around, help these guys, put them through a little bit of a workout. You know,
all right,
appreciate you, man.
All right.
Subscribe and like our page will put you in the game. The Beanbags Talk. The Beanbags Talk.